All right, pirates, here we go. It is time to learn about conflict in drama. At the end of this video, you should be able to describe characteristics of drama and explain the importance of conflict in a story. First, let's start with some review. What is drama? We got to answer that question first before we can really move on to anything else. The word drama comes from the Greek verb dran. For us today, that word dran simply means to take action. So, drama equals action. You have to have drama for there to be action. Specifically, dramas tell stories about people, their actions, and the outcomes that result from those interactions. Drama is universal, which means that it is understood and used by all different types of cultures over vast periods of time. So remember, when it comes to art, humans seek to recreate a view of existence based on experiences. Drama is important because it is an art that uses people, the actors, to say something about our world and our purpose in the world. Without drama, there isn't any story because there's no action. Everything's just sort of is. Nothing's going on. So now that we've established that drama is action, we need to look at what causes action. Something must take place to actually cause an action. This thing that causes an action, that's called conflict. To help understand conflict a little bit better, let's look at a plot map. Hopefully you all remember this from last year. This is your plot map. It's very basic. You can see that we've got 6 different letters or sections on this plot map, and each one is very important in leading to the next. So let's start with A, that's the exposition. The exposition is the first section of a story. This is where we meet characters, learn when and where the story is set, and also gather important background knowledge. We call the perfect balance in which stories usually begin equilibrium. And for this, you can just imagine a smooth, straight line that could go on forever and ever if untouched. So line A would just go on forever and ever and ever if untouched. Now, lucky for us, that A line, it does get touched. And that is called the inciting incident. This is where something happens that distorts the equilibrium. This distortion is called an inciting incident, and it creates what we know as conflict. Now we can have action because we have either a problem to solve, an obstacle to overcome, an objective to reach, or a goal to achieve. It's conflict that gives rise to action because something has changed, and we would like for things to go back to the way that they were or as close to it as possible. Conflict. Conflict is not always negative. Conflict just means to strike together. 2 things come together but are not aligned, and they need to be put back into equilibrium. Here are the different kinds of conflict. There are 2 main categories, external and internal. Let's look at external first. We have man against nature, man against man, and man against society. Internal conflict would be man against himself or herself. Don't want to leave anyone out. Internal conflict is most visible within the protagonist or the main character. The struggle could be a belief, an emotion, an idea, or an ethical problem. Without conflict, there is no story because there's nothing that needs fixing. Characters would exist. Again, they wouldn't really be doing anything, nothing meaningful or interesting, so there wouldn't be any meaningful or interesting action. the story would be boring. So to have action, you need a conflict, which comes from an inciting incident. And that will bring us to the rising action. We have a buildup of suspense or action when we have rising action. It's a series of events that moves the story along, and it helps build tension. That leads us to the climax. The climax is where the tension is at its peak. Climax actually comes from the Greek word for staircase, and I've drawn this so that you can see the stairs on our plot map. So you can see the staircase there. The climax is the highest point of action, suspense, or intensity. And that'll take us to E, which is the falling action. This is the action that takes place after the climax. And this is where we find out what happens now that the conflict has been settled. Finally, resolution. The end is resolution. This is where equilibrium has been restored. See, our line is back to being straight. However, it's not exactly level with A because it hasn't gone back to exactly the way things were, but the balance has been restored. This is where we have the "and they all lived happily ever afters." Sometimes the falling action and resolution are hard to distinguish from one another, but they are two separate parts of a plot map. And that's it. There will be a few questions on Google Classroom for you, so go check that out. All right, that's it.